We're going to be changing out a pulley on a Cosworth Supercharged Mazda MX-5. And the first thing we're going to do is remove the Pcv tube. With that out of the way, grab a 10mm socket, loosen up the two bands on the airbox elbow. I also disconnected the water meth on there. Your installation may vary on that. And set the elbow aside, just flexing it. Going to remove the airbox lid. Undid the two clips as well as the mass airflow electrical connector. Next, going to be using a wrench to detension the pulley belt. It's a 14mm box end wrench cut and then put into a piece of conduit. And actually we welded it here, but you can also electrical tape it. It's handy because you can just slide it down without having to remove the battery or anything like that. Slide it down onto the tensioner pulley. First, before we detension the belt, we're going to loosen the main bolt holding the pulley on so that it doesn't rotate. We're going to leave the belt pressure on there. Then we're going to take a strap, hook it into a hole over on the underhood area. There's a hole over on the fender, and then hook the other end of it to the conduit that's attached to the wrench. That'll keep the pulley detensioned and allow us to slip the belt off pretty easily. So now we just slip the belt off and get it kind of out of the way so we can get into the pulley easily. Next, we're going to take a 3-jaw pulley puller. This is a small version. This particular one happens to be bought from Tractor Supply. It was about 12 bucks, maybe 15. And it's perfect for pulling these pulleys off. Getting it adjusted on the pulley correctly is the key. You don't want to mess it up. And we're putting the jaws on the back side of the pulley, so the farthest spot away from you, and just tightening up the center screw on it, so while keeping all 3 jaws kind of bit down on the back side of that pulley. You don't want to pull on any other portion of the pulley, so it takes a little bit of time to get it sitting on there just right. But hold them and get them tensioned there. Alright, get the air filter out of the way because we got to get a wrench in. Don't want to be hitting the air filter. With the air ratchet, we're just going to tighten that bolt, and it just draws the pulley right off. The right tools are really the key for pulling this thing off. We've tried it with a couple of other pulley pullers, and it's a real pain, but you can see how quick it came off. Voila, the pulley is off. And that's the 3.3 stock pulley that comes with the Cosworth. We're putting a 3.0 3-inch pulley on now. Really want to line up the Supercharger shaft so that the keyway is, the Woodruff key is up, just to make it easier for you to line it up. And it takes some pushing. Then we take a socket that's bigger than the shaft of the Supercharger and tap on the face of the pulley. It's beefy there, you're not going to mess anything up. And tap it in place. Now you need to do that because you can't get a nut on it otherwise. So tap it on enough to get the nut on there thoroughly, and then screw the nut on and drive it on. It's pretty doggone easy with an impact. If you don't have an impact wrench, then the aftermarket pulleys generally have an area where you can put a wrench on the pulley to hold it in place. With an impact, it just drives right on real quick. And next, we slide the belt back into position and detension the idler pulley, the tensioner pulley, and well, geez, the job's getting pretty far. Make sure that the belt is all in all on nice. We're just inspecting to make sure that it's following the proper route there. Sure enough, we'll remove our pulley detensioner wrench, special tool. Got about $5 into it. Next, putting the air filter back on. Put the airbox lid back on. It's got 2 secure points on the bottom that just slide in, and then you run the 2 clips on the top. Check it to make sure it's in place. You can kind of miss the bottom one sometimes, and the bottom will pull out, so that's why we pull on it there to make sure that the bottom's not popping out. Now put the intake elbow back in place. Slides on easily. Take our 10mm socket. You could use a large number 3 Phillips for this as well. But 10mm socket, and tighten those down a little bit. Not too tight, just snug. Putting the water meth injection hose back in there. Again, you probably don't have that, or you may or may not have that. Mass airflow electrical connector back in place. And now the Pcv hose back in place. I intend to actually get rid of that and use a catch can, but for now, this is how it looks. This is how Cosworth tells you to do it either way. So most people probably have it that way. Now the last thing to do is just start her up and make sure everything worked. Rev it up a little bit, make sure the pulley doesn't pop off, and that's it.